Hey, I'm Tony Buffum here at SIA's Collaboration X conference, where we're talking to a number of leaders about what's taking place in the world of work and the future of work. And we're doing it live in Dallas, Texas. Right now, I'm talking to Erika Novak at Worksome. Erika, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Tell me a little bit about Worksome.
Worksome is an FMS that allows you to instant classify, contract, and put people to work as quickly as possible.
FMS, so for people who don't know, most of our listeners
right.
should, but...
Freelance management systems,
Yeah.
It really is for the people that are about time to revenue, getting people to work as quickly as possible. You can't wait 2 to 3 weeks. Can't be your normal hiring process, background check process. You need people on the ground immediately, but you got to do it compliantly. So our job is to make it as frictionless as possible so you can get your work done.
I became passionate about this space. I spent 20 years in HR, started working with freelancers or contractors, and now I live in this world. And I've talked to a lot of enterprises. They're like, hey, we have contractors.
Yep.
We work with some freelancers, but it's kind of scattered. Like each one we do a different contract with. We have no reportability.
Yep.
We really can't collect that information to know what we're working with. And that scares us. So having a freelance management system helps to pull that all in one place, right?
That's exactly right. And the reality is your team doesn't care how they're classified.
Yeah.
I think I've been in
They
the
just want the
contingent.
talent.
They want the talent. I've been in the contingent industry just the same as you are. 20 years. We have 19 different classifications that no one really gives a shit about.
Yeah.
The manager wants to put good people to work as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
So the system that you have in place is supposed to be about making it easier for them and the talent, and everything else, the compliance side should be core to that. Doesn't matter whether it's your ATS, FMS, VMS, you're an alphabet city soup. Just make it easy and fast to get the work done, and they'll work with you. So that's my favorite part about being part of a tech startup in this world is HR world is ripe for innovation, right? We've tried ATSs have kind of shifted or whatnot, but it's really been fun to see all the people here in the last 2 years kind of start something new about speed and quality. I love it.
So tell me a little bit more about that, about what you're seeing. What feels different or new or emerging as this landscape is evolving really, really quickly?
Yeah, one of the things that I really like, especially again being in this industry, is the dissolution of the rate card and job title taxonomy.
Yeah.
Things are moving so incredibly fast, and with AI, you don't need to have that rigidity of what's in a spreadsheet, what are the tiers, and X, Y, and Z. It's able to be fluid and make good predictors, so I really like that, because one of the things that I see managers struggle with is they go to hire someone, I want to hire you, but you're not exactly in the system. So it has to wait, it has to change or whatnot. And now with AI, it's able to say, this feels enough like this, and I'll put you in this job family, and off you go. You got to keep your managers in the system to move forward and not just stop them because it doesn't fit your rules. So we're in we're going back to the Wild West in a good way because we allow them to do the swirl and then we put them into a box versus the other way around.
Well, I mean, I couldn't agree with you more. The speed is so critical.
Yeah.
You want hiring managers to be able to work quickly, get the talent that they need. But of course, especially as an HR person, you want to do it compliantly.
Yeah.
And hiring managers, not only do they not care about what they're classified as, they don't really care about compliance, they just want to get the talent.
Yeah.
It's our job to make sure that they're compliant. How do you do that in this fast-moving world, this wild, wild west? 2
things. Compliance is at the core of any system that you're using, right? And I'm a big believer that if you can't automate it, you can't enforce it. So I think a lot of people try to do 100% compliance, and yet 70% of that is manually, right? And so if you can't get your managers to care or for the process to align with it, it just leads to a lot of frustration. So one is you work with systems that at its core is a compliance feature, not a feature. If someone's selling you compliance, they don't have the right product. They should be selling you speed. They should be selling you a talent pool. They should be something else should be the focus, because like in a banking app, they don't sell you compliance. Put my money in here and you get it to do it.
You should be taking that for granted. I mean, not for granted, but it should be table stakes.
It should be table stakes. You shouldn't even actually realize that it is compliant when you're doing it. So that I think is a good way to kind of start rating the systems and the providers that you're working with. That should be an obvious. Again, I go back to, sorry for all those at home, I do enjoy swearing. It's a no shit Sherlock. Don't buy compliance. You buy something else on top of that core. The second part is you make it easy, right? Because at the end of the day, they're going to fight you forever if they miss that deadline, goal, revenue. You can't put your product out, you can't put your services out because you made it a bottleneck, they will never go through you again. So you make it as simple as possible.
You brought me back in time to when I started working with, at the time it was Upwork, and I was at Stanley Black & Decker, and part of the motivation for thinking outside the box of talent that I was currently recruiting was we'd always be doing staffing updates, and I would hear from the functional leaders, hey, yeah, we have to push this off. We missed this revenue target. We're missing this product milestone because we just didn't have the people in the door.
Yep.
And my boss, the president, would look at me and go, what's going on? Why aren't we getting the people? And listen, there's a million excuses that I thought were good for why that wasn't happening. But at the end of the day, it's speed to talent is what's critical to keep everybody else on path. And whether it's turnover and backfilling somebody, someone leaves unexpectedly, I'd have to be like, hey, look, I can't get somebody right in the door in basically under 3 months. Sorry.
Yeah.
Like, you just lost 3 months. Then I started to discover there's solutions and there's different ways of working with talent that can close that gap in weeks, if not days.
Minutes.
In minutes, in some cases. And that's, to me, that is hugely valuable because it reduces the burden on the rest of the team. And I mean, I'm preaching to the choir, but it's what I find challenging is there are a lot of leaders in enterprises that still are apprehensive. This doesn't seem like it's something they should be doing. Our business, we hire everybody, or we don't work with freelancers. It seems scary. What kind of hurdles or pushback do you see, and how do we get those enterprise leaders over those hurdles so they can embrace this rapidly developing part of our workforce?
I think there's a couple things there. So I was at LinkedIn for 7 years, and I ran their non-employee, right? So policy, processes, people, and all the like, right? And so it went from about 14,000 to about 26,000 real quickly, right? It's very easy to add your non-employees. And one of the ways that we made ourselves a differentiator in HR and TA, kind of in the Silicon Valley, but also across the world, was it's about enabling the business with everything else. I think where a lot of HR functions and procurement functions get trapped is it's about our way that then the business can figure out their work. And it's the exact opposite. You're on one team to serve the customer, and to serve, again, it's product about services. So if HR is enabling, or procurement is enabling the business with all the stuff that we know about, it's a culture shift. So that to me is number one. If you lead only with the law, if you're incredibly legalistic as an HR, or if you lead only with cost savings, you will crush innovation and you will slow everything down.
Absolutely.
And your managers will boycott, right? Because the reality is they're still doing it. They're just doing it around the
become even more rogue. They'll circumvent you.
And
lots of times that's where we get brought in, is organizations find out, hey, we have all this rogue spend. When I say we, Human Cloud,
right?
We have all this rogue spend. We need to get our arms around it. We really need your help, because we don't necessarily want to shut it down because our managers will riot. But we want to make sure it's compliant, and we don't want to shut it down. So what do we do? And I think a big step in that is an FMS, because their existing systems don't have a way, maybe their HRIS or certainly not their ATS, whatever, don't have a way to help them manage this process.
One of the terms I wish I could get rid of in this industry is rogue spend. The thing that I really believe is if you have people and spend going around you, it's you. So exactly right. And FMS is really nice because it is something that, if I think about an ATS or a VMS or even your procure tool, this is a way to go to individual. Most of these systems are broken because it's about being owned by a vendor or owned by a requisition versus by an Erika Novak, right? A one-to-one relationship where you actually get people to work, and that attributes back to the unique ID. FMSs allow that type of shift to work, which is really nice. So Erika Novak can go back on multiple different projects, multiple managers, and you're able to track me versus a requisition or who I was supposed to come through. The second thing I think is really nice about it is that, when I think about what Worksome is supposed to be doing, it's supposed to be easy. Guys, this is about, you have something I wanted to get to work with you, let's get going. There should be some sort of ease of alignment. Worker classification matters in many different countries. US, UK are two of the bigger places that really does start to matter. But again, I go back to managers don't care. They just want to work with me, not what classification I am. So that's got to be done simply and instantly. Should not take weeks. Some of our competitors, it's people. They're manufacturing things to get things done. It takes about 2 to 3 weeks to say, am I in business for myself? Am I not? This should be done with technology. This is the world that we're in right now. And the second part is contracting. Typically, when you find, hey, I want to work with you, then it's, go talk to my procurement team or my legal team on a different tool. No. Consolidate it all into one and get your people to work as quickly as possible with compliance. Again, you fast with compliance.
Well, I like that you said in leverage technology. And earlier you said if you can't, if you can't enforce it, you can't.
You can't enforce it. Don't police it.
Yeah, absolutely. So automation enables that.
Yes.
Tell me about some of the automation that you're building into Worksome to enable some of this speed and accuracy and quality that we're talking about.
No, and it's actually been really fun listening to the keynote. This is something our team has been working on for about 18 months. It was really important to us that we weren't seen as like just jumping on the bandwagon and throwing a feature out, us too. No.
Because you do see a lot of that.
You see a ton of that, right?
Just for the sake of saying, hey, we're playing in that sandbox too. But then you see under the surface, it's really just nothing.
Yes, you're seeing a ton of URLs changing from .com, .co to .ai.
Yeah.
Well done. But for the last 18 months, we've been really thinking about, for our customers, what's really important. So there's some things that are just obvious, right? Creating job descriptions in a very fast and futuristic way, I think is really important. Again, getting away from the job template, the job card, the rate card that honestly, no one was updating those. They were getting done 5-10 years ago and they were staying. They're stagnant.
Yeah.
So how do you make something come to life again? And I think that's something I think we're really excited about how we're using AI, is that we're letting the technology become to life and morph as people are doing newer things, changing what they want to, and then having different examples come to life. So job descriptions is an easy one, right? Skills tagging is the second one. We do something called timesheet parsing, because it's something that we recognize within our tool. There's other labor tools that are being used with freelancers specifically on how they're doing project codes or being billed out or whatnot.
Okay.
And so there's integrations that we can do. But if for some of our customers who aren't excited about doing an API integration, maybe they're not as evolved, maybe they don't have the resources, or maybe it's going to happen in 6 months, we do timesheet parsing that allows the freelancer just to upload something and then we do the rest of the work, and then it's auditable, which is really nice. Obviously, we have a talent assistant because the goal is ask it a question, get your answer. And there's a couple other things coming out in the next 3 months that I'm very excited about, stay tuned for part 2.
Yeah, that's great. I think, like we said, speed with accuracy, quality, making it easy is critically important, and it's evolving with how the workforce is changing. And one of the things you touched on is that skills tagging, this getting away less from the job and focusing more on the skills and sourcing those skills. How have you seen that evolve, and where do you think it's headed in terms of the way enterprises think about sourcing talent specifically for skills?
I think it's going to be interesting. How I've seen some of my customers do it really well is at the end of whatever project it is, and it really is usually multiple projects put together to make a role, is at the end, at the time of payment, there's a reminder that goes in, like, update the skills that you use for this project, or just make sure your profile is synced. And that's a nice, easy, again, they still have to have some sort of touch point back and forth on profile. Another thing that I've seen them do really well is every month they'll assign a resource manager or hiring manager. And so you do kind of one a year where you own an office hours or a webinar where you're inviting all of your talent pool to come. Usually about 30% of the talent pool shows up on any given month or whatnot, but they're describing what's going on in the business. And then at that, they say, don't forget to go into your profile, tag the skills that you heard that are important to us that you think that you have. Okay. And so it's just a nice reminder to bring them back in. The third thing I've seen them do really well is they scrape kind of the internet on press releases, projects, clients that they've won, different things going on, and they blast it out to their freelancers with a link to go back to their profile. What I've seen mostly with our customers, it's continuing to engage with the freelancers, because guys, the freelancers have so many platforms right now, and there's not an aggregator yet. I think LinkedIn has been my former employee, who I love, but they've been very thoughtful of how to protect the data moat that they have. And so they don't always share the data back and forth. If they do, it comes at a cost. And so if you're a freelancer trying to work and you're across 10 platforms, how often are you going back in there to refresh? Are they the same things or whatnot? I've seen some with blockchain move it, but that's lower adoption, I think, on all these freelancers. And so the short answer is they engage their talent pool in a couple different ways, knowing you're never going to get 100%. But if you keep bringing them in to your platform to remind them, they start to get engaged. They remember they used to work with Erika Novak, X, Y, and Z. They send a LinkedIn message. And then what we've seen, this has just started with one of my customers, what they've seen is off of these webinar kind of office hours on the monthly, 30% of the people who attend actually get a job within the next 3 months because they figured out who the managers were. They understood what's going on. They updated and they engaged. It was very easy to put them to work.
And make sure they remain relevant.
Yeah. So it was a very simple, one time a month, someone has to do this, and they put people to work within days versus weeks.
You touched on a fear I see from enterprises, which is they're, not all of them, of course, but many are so apprehensive to engage with their contractors or their independent workers. So like, hey, I don't want to run into a co-employment risk. So rather than treat them like people, they treat them like second-class citizens, and they keep them at arm's length. What do you recommend for organizations to create more of that team environment and maintain a culture that fits their employer brand?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. The idea of communities and influencers has really changed how we do business. Some in negative ways, right? Doom scrolling forever and, oh my gosh, this person wore this. That's the bullshit stuff. But the idea of building a community and getting to know people, I think has started to proliferate across some, even the most conservative enterprises. Because the ghost of co-employment has been with us for over 30 to 40 years or whatnot.
Over our shoulder. And
but if you treat them like a consumer, I think you have a better way of engaging with them. What doesn't feel so scary. Like it goes back to is Erika Novak, or am I a freelancer, am I an employee, am I part of my community, am I a buyer? You treat them like a consumer of what you're trying to build and your culture or whatnot, becomes very different than an employment thing.
Yeah.
The second part is, especially in the freelancer world, it is habitual. It's not something that is going to be going on forever. And so you do have this natural kind of break where, because they're working with other companies, you have this, they're not mine. Again, this is a globalization of I'm working across different companies. And so how could there possibly be co-employment because they're already working with 6 of my competitors?
That's true. I think it's exciting to think and see the way that the workforce is evolving to embrace working more independently. And that there's resources and tools like this to help enable that, especially for enterprises, but also for the talent that are in these marketplaces. Tell me, what do you see that's coming down the line that gets you excited about how this will continue to evolve? What's happening in the flexible workforce world?
It's going to be a nerdy answer. I apologize ahead of time. But here's why. I am most excited that insurance companies are developing portable benefits that allow people to take their own benefits with them from project to company versus having to contribute. If I think about 20 years ago when I started, in the freelancer independent contractor world, it really was 22-year-olds and 67-year-olds. Because they didn't care about benefits. They were on someone else's insurance, right? And everyone's a risk taker. No one's ever going to die or get hurt as a 20-year-old, right? Or the 60-year-olds who have kind of retired and they're on a different type of pension or whatnot. Those are the ones who are saying, great, I'll consult or I'll try. Really, when I think about it, and this is a silly thing, I think podcasts have really changed how people think about it, because financial information, benefit information has now become democratized across what I need to, anyone 30 and below is trying to just get rich, right? So how do they get rich? How do they get investing advice? Is a 401k worth it? And they've started to learn new investing techniques, and they've really believed in themselves. We're a generation of mom and dad have said, you can do anything. And these guys believe it. And so when you've given them now benefits, and when you've given them the ability to say, okay, you may not have a 401k that has a match, but here's different ways that you can actually invest in your retirement. That piece of information, those two things, the knowledge of how to be financially secure without a company saying it's tied to me, and the benefits to say I can actually have a family and do this and not have to do that, I think has changed it dramatically. So I know it's a very nerdy answer, but because benefits is becoming a lot more free market, which it should be, you're starting to see this explosion in freelancers. Now, a big part of that is influencers. I know it's a big space, but I'm excited to see more within services and building and technology and stuff like that. But it's been, that I think has been really, really cool. And I think it's going to affect our colleges as well.
I mean, listen, maybe it's nerdy, but I love that answer because we know it's such an enabling factor in people working independently. If someone works independently, typically the first thought of somebody else is, well, what do you do about your health insurance? Or people maybe want to work independently, but they're like, I don't know how I'm going to take care of my insurance. But when the more it's portable, the more that is not a required, like receiving some kind of insurance from an employer or a client, I should say, doesn't automatically make you an employee. Like the policies are evolving and changing as well to make that a lot more fluid and a lot easier for talent to move around.
That's exactly right.
Well, that's great. So this is a great conversation. how does anybody listening to this or watching this learn more about Worksome or even get in touch with you?
Beautiful. All right. Very easy. Get in touch with me, Erika at worksome.com. We keep it simple here. You want to learn more about Worksome, worksome.com. We're at all the conferences. We have a podcast as well. So thank you for letting me join yours. But honestly, going to the website is super, super easy. We love to talk with you about what you're trying to do.
All right. Thank you so much for joining. I hope you have a great time at Collaboration X.
Excellent. I'll see you at the bar.
Got it.